In October 1964, Tonny arrived in Mexico City at the invitation of Jaime Torres Bodet, the Mexican Secretary of Education, here walking with the President, Adolfo López Mateos, and Pedro Ramírez Vázquez, the architect of the school building program. In that same year, Ramírez Vázquez directed the construction of the National Museum of Anthropology, another initiative of Torres Bodet. The museum's central patio features a water curtain falling around a sculptured column that supports the umbrella roof. After the conquest in 1521, the Spaniards turned the Aztec islands of Mexico Tenochtitlan into a capital city with Spanish architecture. The center of Mexico City is now dominated by the 16th century cathedral. To reveal what has been left of the ancient Aztec center, a whole housing block had to be demolished. During her first 3 months in Mexico, Tonny worked at the office of the Calderón brothers. José Calderón took her to the pyramid city of Teotihuacan, an urban center dating back more than 1,000 years. A huge scale model in the museum at the foot of the Sun Pyramid shows its geometrical composition and grid layout. The interior of the Pyramid of the Sun holds a ritual cave, once the shrine of a goddess. The palace of the Quetzal butterfly has its rooms arranged around a patio, whose elaborately carved pillars give the palace its name. Their stylized designs represent birds and butterflies. In February 1965, Tonny was sent to the countryside to help build schools in remote Indian villages. At that time, it wasn't easy to bring the building materials to the construction site. It was vital to secure the cooperation of the villagers before reaching a collective decision on the best site for the school building. There were small hamlets which only needed 1 or 2 classrooms. Larger villages wanted as many as 8 to 12 classrooms. For these larger communities, Tonny had to arrange the classrooms around the playground patios. In Miahuatlan, this school was to be built in a former orchard with all kinds of trees. Tonny's design tried to enhance the original beauty of this garden. President Diaz Ordaz opened the school on October 3, 1966, to commemorate a battle with the French 100 years earlier. Excerpts from Tonny's letters, written in 1966, show what life was like during these years. She wrote, "The experience I gain here is invaluable. We have new office rooms now, modern and clean. I've made a design for metal supports to hang large photographs on. I'm writing from a place far away in the mountains, as I couldn't get back from a neighboring village in time because of the rain. I would like a little more free time to think of ideas for my thesis." In 1966, Tonny wrote to Aldo van Eyck and Jaap Bakema, her professors in Delft, about her plan to design a project for the Triquis, an isolated tribe in Oaxaca. "The Triquis," she wrote, "have strongly resisted any interference from the outside world. I was asked to find out how the church-run orphanage of the missionary post in San Juan Copala was functioning. Once a week, a market is held, but without the usual festive cheerfulness. That day is the only occasion on which the Triquis have contact with people outside their tribe. The idea of a marketplace with concrete parasols like mushroom trees came to my mind." Bakema replied, "It seems wonderful to me that by designing a marketplace, a group of people is offered an opportunity of interacting with others." She traveled to Ecuador and visited the Indian market town of Otavalo. Seeing the market square without any facilities, she spoke to the authorities and asked for their cooperation. During 3 months, Tonny studied the history of this town. The region of Otavalo had been part of the Inca Empire, although the ceramics have their own special features. Tonny travelled to Cuzco, the Inca center in Peru, to have a look at other Inca market towns. From Cuzco, she went to Machu Picchu. In this Inca city, architecture is in harmony with its natural surroundings. At the opening of the exhibition 90 Parasols, with which Tonny graduated in September 1970, Aldo van Eyck fascinated the audience of architecture students with a lecture about other cultures. A scale model of the Otavalo market shows an open-air market partly covered by 90 parasols and 14 cypresses. A scale model shows a group of 4 parasols forming a small inner garden. In 1971, Professor Dieker explained on an educational television show how these concrete parasols could be built by unskilled workers. On the building site in Otavalo, Tonny began by marking the square, raising a curb and creating a pedestrian area. Parasol by parasol, the market floor was conquered for the sake of the Indians. Right at this time, tourism was beginning to develop. Tourist agencies organize excursions from the capital, Quito, to Otavalo, which the Pan-American Highway has made easily accessible. Now, after 30 years, the social and economic progress of the Otavaleños is obvious. Once the Otavalo market was finished, in December of 1972, the Indians of Peguche, Ecuador, asked Tonny to build them a meeting hall. It was decided to plan a meeting hall within a school project. Tonny planned the school with the meeting hall in the center. Like a spider making its web, she tried to find a natural composition within the outer boundaries. In 1980, with the success of Otavalo in mind, Tonny thought of designing another market, this time in Tlacolula, Mexico. She organized an exhibition, The Lost Paradise. With a scale model, 1:1000, she wanted to make clear that this valley could change for the better by reforestation and restoring the pre-Columbian footpaths. It was 10,000 years ago that some nomadic families decided to settle. They came to live here when it was a veritable paradise. It was Tonny's idea to build tourist yu'u, rural tourist lodgings, in the Indian villages. The idea was promoted through the patient fieldwork of architect Lázaro García Saavedra. The indigenous villages of Santa Ana del Valle, Tlapazola, Quialana, Papalutla and Lachigolo, among others, embraced this eco-tourism project. On Sundays, on a field next to the 16th century church of Tlacolula and in the shade of 4 giant trees, the Zapotec Indians set up their stalls. Tonny's design comprised the planting of another 4 trees, surrounded by patios in a geometrical pattern enclosed by walkways. These walkways would be roofed over by vaulted brick ceilings. The Zapotec merchants can sit on islands of tree trunks set in concrete under these galleries. For the exhibition Lost Paradise, a prototype of a market stall was built, where a mother and daughter from Tlapazola took their seat. Tonny also designed a second market for Tlacolula as a normal town market for daily use. At night, the inner court of this market, designed as a building with 2 stories, can be used as a sports hall and be covered by a transparent roof, like the huge wings of a bat,